Hey, so if PayPal has hit you with their loss recovery policy and taken your money, then you've absolutely come to the right place. In this explainer, we're going to walk through a really solid legal strategy that's all based on European consumer law. It's designed to help you challenge these seizures and, hopefully, fight to get your money back.
All right, let's get right into it. First things first, we need to talk terminology because this is super important. PayPal now calls this whole thing loss recovery. But before mid-2022, you might have seen the older memo, the one that talked about damages caused by acceptable use policy violation. Here's the deal. They are the exact same thing, just a new name. So yeah, if either of these memos looks familiar to you, this guide is for you.
And here's something you really need to get from the get-go. The strategy we're laying out here, it's not a one-trick pony. It's designed to be incredibly flexible. You can use these arguments pretty much anywhere, whether you're just filing a complaint inside PayPal's system or you're taking it all the way to mediation, arbitration, or even a full-blown court case. The core logic holds up across the board. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with what loss recovery even is. Then we'll look at how they take your entire balance. We'll dig into the specific European laws they're breaking, expose the sneaky 180-day trap, give you a solid action plan, and wrap it all up with a much-needed reality check. All right, Section 1. Let's really dig into what this loss recovery thing is all about and get to the heart of the legal argument.
Okay, this right here, this is the absolute core of the whole strategy. We're not just vaguely shouting that what PayPal did is illegal. No, the specific legal argument is that this is an unenforceable penalty. And what does that mean? Well, it means they can't just take your money without proving they actually lost that exact amount. If they can't show real proportional damages, then contract law says that penalty is basically void.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 2, the total balance seizure. Let's look at how they actually take the money. So you know how their policy might mention a $2,500 fine? Yeah, in reality, for a lot of people, what actually happens is a balance sweep. This isn't them carefully calculating a fine. Nope, it is a total confiscation. They just sweep your entire balance clean. Poof. It's gone. And the crazy part is they do it without any calculation, no proof, and no justification sent to you. It's not a fine. It's a seizure, pure and simple.
Okay, now we're getting to the real heart of the matter, the specific ways this whole practice tramples all over European law. We're going to walk through 4 major violations. We're talking about everything from e-money laws in Luxembourg, where PayPal Europe is based, to the big EU Payment Services Directive, unfair contract rules, and just a basic violation of due process. Let's break them down one by one.
Violation number 1, your right to redeem. So under European law, that money in your PayPal account, it's not just some number on a screen. It's legally classified as e-money. And that means it's a debt that PayPal, as the issuer, owes to you. They have a legal obligation to give it back to you, to redeem it, whenever you ask. So when they just seize it, they're violating that fundamental right.
All right, violation number 2. This one's a big one. A breach of the Payment Services Directive 2, or PSD2 for short. A core principle of PSD2 is consent. You have to explicitly agree to every single transaction and its specific amount. So a balance sweep where they just take everything, by its very nature, that's an unauthorized transaction. You never consented to that deduction, not even close. Violation 3 is all about abusive clauses. Think about it. You didn't get to sit down and negotiate their terms and conditions, right? You just clicked agree. Well, EU law looks at that, and a clause that lets them hit you with a massive penalty without proving any actual loss, that creates what the law calls a significant imbalance of power. It's completely one-sided, and that's a huge red flag for being an unfair term.
And that brings us to violation number 4, and this image just says it all. PayPal is playing judge, jury, and, well, executioner who also gets to keep the money. They're the ones who accuse you, they're the ones who find you guilty, they decide the punishment, and then they pocket the cash. There's no impartial judge, no hearing, no real evidence of damages presented. It's a total breakdown of what we call due process.
Let's stick with that idea of a significant imbalance for a second. European consumer law is really clear on this. It asks, does this term stack the deck so much against the consumer that it's just not fair? And when you look at this situation, where one side has all the power, controls all the evidence, and gets to keep all the money, the answer is a pretty resounding yes.
And you know what? This isn't even a borderline case. The EU actually has something called a gray list. It's literally a list of contract terms that are pretty much presumed to be unfair. And guess what's on it? Any term that requires a consumer to pay a disproportionately high sum in compensation. I mean, that sounds exactly like PayPal's AUP penalty, doesn't it? It's a textbook example. Okay, moving on to Section 4, and this one is particularly sneaky. We call it the 180-day trap. So here's how the trap works, and it's what we call a double breach. When PayPal first limits your account, they send you an email promising that your funds will be held for 180 days, and after that, they'll tell you how to get them. But the reality? So often, they just seize the funds before the 180 days are even up, and they never contact you. They break their own promise. And under EU law, this is a classic case of bait advertising, dangling a promise to keep you quiet, then pulling the rug out from under you. Okay, here's a super practical tip. Do this right now. Go into your inbox and find that email from PayPal, the one promising you can withdraw your funds in 180 days. Find it, save it, star it, whatever you need to do. That email is golden. It's your smoking gun. If they took the money before that deadline, you've got them dead to rights on a breach of contract and a misleading commercial practice. All right, so we've spent a lot of time on the problem. Now, let's pivot to the solution. Section 5, your action plan. The plan is basically a 3-step escalation ladder. Step 1, you start with a formal complaint inside PayPal. Step 2, if that doesn't work, you escalate to an outside body, like a Financial Ombudsman. And Step 3, you report them to the regulators to really turn up the heat. So, Step 1, you're going to write a formal complaint to their legal team or their executive escalations department. And this is key. Do not get bogged down arguing about what you sold. Stick to the law. You argue that the clause is an unfair term and that they have a lack of proof of loss. And then you formally demand that they show you a detailed accounting of the actual damages they supposedly suffered. So, what happens if they just ignore you or say no? That's when you move to Step 2. You escalate. You take your case to your local financial ombudsman or an alternative dispute resolution body. And here's why this is so effective. These bodies don't just look at PayPal's rulebook. They apply actual consumer law. And when you file, make sure you attach all your evidence, especially that 180-day promise email. And finally, Step 3. This is about putting pressure on the whole system. You're going to file formal complaints with the big guns. First, the CSSF in Luxembourg. They're the main regulator for PayPal in Europe. And second, your own country's Consumer Protection Authority. Now, they might not resolve your case individually, but every single complaint adds up. It puts this practice on their radar and can spark bigger investigations. And that brings us to our last section, and it's a really important one, a crucial reality check. So let's be real for a minute. Is this a magic bullet that works for everyone? Honestly, no. If your account was full of chargebacks, or if there are verified fraud reports, basically, if you actually cost PayPal real money, it's going to be a much tougher fight. This strategy has the highest chance of success when the damages are theoretical. You broke a rule in their AUP, but it didn't actually cost them a cent. So, let's wrap this up. You now understand the legal strategy, you know the specific EU laws that are on your side, and you have a clear, step-by-step plan. The only question left is the one you see right here. Now that you're armed with all this knowledge, what's it really going to cost you if you do nothing?